Hey, I really love video games. I love them as an art form. I love games for unique once-in-a-lifetime experiences that you just can't get out of any other type of media. I love getting to the end of a game and feeling like I truly went on a journey to get to that point. And honestly, a lot of my favorite games don't even take up that much of your time. They're more about that short and sweet journey, instead of padding out with endless extra content. And I prefer that. I don't want to spend hundreds of hours on a single game with passable visuals and extremely simple gameplay just so it can string me along with shallow dopamine hits and numbers going up. Usually. Vampire Survivors is a casual roguelite bullet hell thing that first released in early access in December of 2021. Last year, the full version came out, with 2 expansions following. And finally, a little over a week ago, Vampire Survivors was ported to the Nintendo Switch, in addition to getting couch co-op. Of course, I did what any reasonable Nintendo fan would do, and bought it to play on my Steam Deck. I primarily picked up the game as a way to calm my nerves when trying to record for my worst item in Mario Kart video, but what was initially just meant to be a small distraction turned into basically my life for the last week. So, what do you even do in this game? You move your little Italian vampire hunter guy around the analog stick or D-pad, and automatically attack enemies to gain experience and level up your weapons. That's the gameplay. It looks like this. Yeah, I know it's not much, but then it can also look like this. And this. And this. And this. Okay, let's back up a little. As you may have gathered, you don't actually just move around mindlessly. When you pick up enough XP and level up, you get to pick from 3 or 4 different items, which can be upgrades for things you already have, brand new weapons, or passive stat boosts. As you level up and the timer goes by, the strength and amount of enemies increases with it. By like, a lot. You'll also encounter large boss enemies, and defeating them drops chests that can contain 1, 3, or 5 upgrades at once. All with this satisfying slot machine style animation and jingle that I'm like 90% sure might be some sort of mind control to get me addicted to this game. This simple satisfying loop of leveling up, grabbing XP from enemies, and obtaining new weapons and passives to shred through the increasingly difficult waves turns what would otherwise be a shallow and kind of bland game with little input from the player into something that requires just enough strategy to be pretty engaging. In the early game, you will die. And die. And die. But after each run, you'll get both money, which you can funnel into permanent upgrades and new characters, and unlock new weapons and other items. With enough time to grind out power-ups and unlocks, and planning out your builds well enough, you can get to a point where nearly every run ends in complete mass destruction of the map. When you do finally come out on top of all the chaos after surviving long enough to build your perfect set of weapons, is when this game shows what is, in my opinion, its true strength. A sort of bubble wrap effect. When you get to that overpowered point in a late game situation, the game becomes less of an actual challenge and more of just the digital equivalent of popping loads of bubble wrap for about 10 minutes. It's this last stretch of complete destruction over the map that makes me want to keep doing another run over and over and over, just so I can build my character to this point again. Like I said previously, the game does require a good bit of strategy if you want to buy power-ups at a faster pace and survive as long as possible, but that's mainly early on. As you level up, the game will quickly turn from a semi-casual roguelite into primarily just a free dopamine simulator. There are modifiers that eventually unlock to add more difficulty back into the game, but make no mistake, this is a very casual game, and I think people who are completely unwilling to get good at games will still eventually get a super broken build if they're dedicated enough. But if the simple grind isn't enough for you, what else of value does this $5 game offer? One thing I'd like to point out is the absolutely killer soundtrack. I've used a little bit of it in the video already, but I want to specifically draw attention to songs like Forest Night Fever, I'm Every Reaper, and It's Raining Minotaurs. And that's just 3 of them. People often make jokes like, I can't believe this album came with a free game. But genuinely, even if you have no interest at all in having your brain cells fried by this game's gameplay loop, at least listen to the music, because it's pretty much all bangers. Magic bangers. Get it? Because that's the name of an item in the game. This game is also shockingly funny. In addition to the general Italian Castlevania parody theme it has going for it, this guy on the cover is unironically called Visconte Draculo. The game even has a full bestiary of enemy descriptions written by the Jim Stephanie Sterling. Now, regardless of quality, I would have loved this feature since I'm a sucker for browsing lists of things with descriptions. But these silly little snippets are almost worth playing the game for alone. Let me read you one. Giovanna resented being assigned mage at birth and proudly took up the way of the broom and pointed hat. Her sisters, who claim they want to protect witches' spaces, have sworn to oppose her in all that fight by her side. Maybe one day they'll accept that anyone can be a sassy witch if they truly want to be. I love this game. Beyond the music and lore, the game is also chock full of secrets and unlockables that I don't even want to spoil, just in case you're one of the 3 people watching this who hasn't already played this game a bunch. Yeah, there's a ton of unlockable stuff, but there's also a handful of trippy scripted story sequences that genuinely blew my mind the first time I played them. For such a simple game that very much could have just done the bare minimum, there is so much love and care put into the huge amount of content in this tiny $5 game, and I admire it so much. I think I primarily just really appreciate this game for not being super scummy. Despite the lead dev's experience of programming for gambling machines, this game does not try to take your money. Just 30 minutes of your time for each run. The mobile version is even completely free, with the only in-app purchases being the same DLC that's available in the other versions. When you combine that with a killer soundtrack, great sound design, a ton of unlockables and achievements to go for, some Castlevania theming that is sorely needed in a time when Konami refuses to do much of anything with the series, surprisingly funny writing, and a super memorable ending, not only do you have one of the best $5 I've ever spent on a singular game, but one of the best games I've played in recent memory. I love Vampire Survivors. Thank you for watching. Have you played this game? Did you get addicted to it as I did? I do love the game, but I should really play other stuff. I think this video will serve as a perfect stopping point so I can move on and play another game. Maybe just one more.